Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Oh, Captain, my captain.
I'm telling you straight, it's my way or the highway.
Oh, command me, Lord. Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Tell me something, my friend. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? I always ask that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it.
I'll have what she's having.
You have chosen wisely.
It reminds us of all that once was good. And it could be again.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. Classic movies, 30 years in the making. Hello and welcome to the 30-something movie podcast. This is episode number 225, Field of Dreams. Tonight we're going to be talking about our dreams. What are your dreams? What are my dreams? Does anybody really want to know? Probably not.
Not really.
No. I was considering whether to start the podcast with a Harry Carey impersonation, coming with a, hey, if you guys listen to a podcast, would you listen to a podcast that was made out of spare ribs? Anyway, so this time we're talking Field of Dreams, talking baseball movies. Actually, the first couple of weeks of this month are our baseball movies. We got Field of Dreams and we got Major League, so those are going to be fun. I feel like we kind of did like back-to-back Lethal Weapon, License to Kill, with everything being revoked. And then these next 2 weeks are baseball.
As well
as it should be. So as you can probably hear in the background, I've got both Jeff and Bo with me.
Hello,
gentlemen.
Yo.
Howdy. And then we should have Pat, and I believe Dennis is going to try to make it. Dennis is another one of our big baseball fans, even though he chooses the wrong team to cheer for. He is one of our other big baseball fans, and he actually played baseball for a while. And so he wanted to join us for this one, but I know he had some other stuff going on with, I think, an awards ceremony tonight or something.
Did you know that a week from yesterday, pitchers and catchers report to spring training?
Is it really that soon?
Oh, yeah.
That's insane. It's still negative temperatures.
Doesn't matter. Well, they go to Arizona.
Not in Arizona, right. Wow. That's kind of crazy. You know what I said? This is not related to our podcast, but it's related to baseball. I didn't realize that at the end of this season, the Cubs are not on WGN anymore.
No, that's true. They will be they will be launching their own network. I was
just reading about that. I did not realize that. And I was a little sad because we used to listen to the Cubs all the time on WGN radio on 720. And now I don't know that we listen to the radio all that much anymore now that they're not on there.
670. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been spooling up for this network thing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The latest contract they signed with all those teams with all the other networks was designed to expire this year on purpose.
Okay.
Because their contract with Comcast Sportsnet's up this year, and
gotcha.
But they're not the only team to do this.
No, that's true.
Yankees have done it. The Red Sox have done it.
I think the Dodgers have done it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of college teams have been going that way too. I know my Texas Longhorns have their own network that they put all their games on. And
go Irish.
Go where?
I see what you did there.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to jump on into
Blazing Saddles, gentlemen.
So we're going to jump on into our spoiler alert section here very quickly. We spoil the movies we talk about. We're going to talk about Field of Dreams. We may talk about other movies, so just be aware we spoil movies. If you start to hear a movie title that you don't want to hear anything about, you may want to just skip ahead for a few seconds just to get past that. If you have not yet left us a review on iTunes, please do that. It just takes a couple minutes, and it's a great way to let us know what you're enjoying about the show. And then visit our website if you want to find other ways to get in touch with us. We're on a whole bunch of the different social medias. So if you want to go to our website, 30podcast.com, that's got our voicemail line and all the different ways that you can find our show. That itself is also a great way to get to all of our past episodes before this one. So,
hey, speaking of baseball, you guys know what I'm doing on Saturday?
What are you doing on Saturday?
I am participating in a season ticket game draft.
Oh, what is this?
That's fun.
My father-in-law went in with a couple other people for Cubs season tickets, and each person is getting 20 games. He is unable to make it to the draft that they're holding.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked me if I would sit in his stead, so I get to participate and pick pick the games for the season that hopefully I'll get a couple that I really, really want. And
Nice.
yeah,
Awesome.
Nice.
What are you?
I've never done it before, so I'm excited to do this.
Cool. What games, like, what's your top pick?
I think I'm going to go for opening day
Okay.
because
That'd be fun.
the seats are one of the new clubs.
Okay.
So if it gets
Nice.
too cold, we can just go inside.
Sure.
Right on.
Might try for one of the White Sox games as well. Then the usual, Brewers, Cardinals, Dodgers,
Nice.
maybe Oakland because they're coming to town this year. So who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, it's always fun to catch those teams that you never see.
Yeah.
I remember when
I
Boston.
thought
was-
about
when-
going to the opening game of the season down in Texas because they're playing the Rangers during our spring break.
Oh,
Right,
right
yeah.
on.
And I've only walked around the ballpark of Arlington. I've never been in it, and I've
I've never
always
been to
wanted to go to a game there.
Yeah, I've never been to the new one. We went the old one a lot growing up because that's where I lived. But yeah, I've never been to the new one. Driven by it a few times, but never been inside.
And then aren't they building?
it's
Aren't they building a brand new one right now?
I think so. Yeah. Well, because I think they just built it when I moved away from Texas, and that's been what 20. Oh gosh, like that's almost been 25, 28 years now. So yeah,
Wow.
that when I say new stadium, I mean the one that's 28 years old.
That sounds
Yeah,
like
there's a conference coming up at work that part of the conference is a tour of that stadium and of AT&T, like the opening activities or tours of both stadiums. I really have no business going, but I kind of want to go.
you should. Why not? Should we do some real quick new movie news?
Yeah. Let's go through those real quick. I think we had so much that we're going to do some this week and some next week. But let's go ahead and do. We've got a few of them we want to do.
I ended up with I think 7 or 8 things that I had found. But
Yeah.
all right. First thing that I came across is I think as of today, word came out that Avengers Endgame may have to include an intermission because of the runtime of the movie.
I was reading something about that.
Clocking in at about 3 hours, and Marvel is considering, instead of making people sit through the 3 hours, dropping an intermission somewhere in there for a quick break. I don't necessarily know that I like that idea, but then again, the older I get, try to sit through a movie uninterrupted, the harder that's become. So maybe it's not a bad way to go. But what do you guys think?
I think as long as they have some kind of a clear cliffhanger when they decide to do the intermission, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think you've got to make it a thing. Like you've either got to be hysterical about it or there's got to be some. It can't just be halfway through the movie, oh, intermission. There's got to
Like-
be a purpose to it.
Deadpool shows up and like all of a sudden, like it looks like a movie is spliced in and it's Deadpool. He's like, hey, I'm just here to give you guys a break.
That would be fine. But
That would be cool.
They've got to do something. You know what I mean? It's got to be. I don't know.
Or here we go, halfway through the movie there, and I don't know anything about the movie, but I would assume they're going to be fighting Thanos or trying to fix whatever happened in Infinity War. But what would be awesome is if halfway through the movie, right before they go to intermission, you see the silhouette walk onto the screen, and all of a sudden claws come out of his hand, and then it goes to intermission.
Nah.
That would be the Canagallo move.
Exactly.
I would highly approve of that.
We
Pat,
thought you
that
might.
that would be the moment Pat would wake up in the movie.
His name is Pat Canagallo, and he approves this message.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Real quick, Daniela said thank you. She saw you guys waving. The audio was cutting out on our end, and I was trying to. Anyways, she was very excited to be part of the podcast. She thought it was pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, tell her when she gets a little bit older, she can come on and be a co-host with us.
Yes, she says, well, do I get to talk? No. Well, what was the movie? Field of Dream. Well, have I seen it? No. Well, why not? Well, I don't know, Daniela. It's a school night. Go to bed. We'll talk about it this weekend.
That's a good question, Dad. Why hasn't she seen it?
Yeah, what the heck, man?
That's right. That's right.
All right. So the intermission for Endgame, I'm okay with it. The one thing I'm trying to remember though is how long were the Lord of the Rings movies, and they didn't have intermissions?
That came to my mind as well. That the Lord of the Rings movies were easily 3 hours.
Yeah,
and they didn't have an intermission. So I don't know. The second thing that I stumbled across, and this is more just irritating to me because I just can't handle how petty and crazy people are becoming. I was hoping this would all end in 2018 and we're offended by everything would that ideology would go away. But apparently it hasn't.
I'm offended that you wanted that to go away.
Well, whatever.
Continue.
So, Toy Story 4, Little Bo Peep makes her triumphant return. She was not in Toy Story 3. And she's has a little bit more of a modern look to her in Toy Story 4. Additionally, she's also carrying around her shepherd's crook. And this has gotten the animal rights group PETA, very upset. And they are calling on the director and calling on Disney to reanimate the movie or her scenes in the movie without the shepherd's crook, because it is an archaic tool that has been used by shepherds in the past, much the same way that a bullhook was once used on elephants in circuses. In an additional message from PETA's manager of animals in film and television, she says, a symbol of domination over an animal is a thing of the past and not something that belongs in Toy Story 4. Won't you please consider removing Bo Peep's crook from the final animation? What do we think about this idea?
Hang on, let me put down my lamb kebab sandwich, and then I'll type.
I think that's a giant load of sheep.
I've had enough of hearing about these people complain about animals.
Well, is there really any merit to this complaint? It's not like they're taking a live animal and sacrificing it on the screen. They're not even depicting violence to animals. It is a classic character with a classic character's accoutrement. You know, a shepherd, Little Bo Peep has her shepherd's crook. I don't necessarily see the harm in that. I think
it's part of the character. It's part of the costume. That's a eesh.
And really, I'm not, I'm not saying this in a way that says if they passionately believe in something that they shouldn't fight for what they believe in, but there's got to be more important things in the world related to animal rights than trying to ask Disney to reanimate a character in a cartoon.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be other things if you want to fight for farms to treat their animals better before they're slaughtered, or, not slaughter them at all, or I don't agree with that, but I agree with treating animals fine, but I'm still going to eat a hamburger every now and then. But there's got to be other way more important, way more impactful things that you could do than ask Disney to reanimate something that they're clearly not going to do. They're not going to go back just because PETA asked them to.
Disney has yet to comment in my research. I haven't seen any comment from Disney yet, so who knows?
Yeah.
They may go back because they do enjoy appeasing the masses, but I would not at all mind if Disney said, okay, you know what? Of all the things that people find offensive in this world, go away with that. I think it's ridiculous. Maybe I'll be wrong when I see how, if it's used in the movie, how it's used in the movie, but I don't think that it is going to be giving the message to young people or giving the message to anybody that this is something that should still be used and we should still be, caning sheep and hooking them by the neck and hooking them by the legs.
Well, they could reanimate it so that she's just holding a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, let's not go there. we don't have time for that discussion.
No. Yeah, that's my thought.
Well, and then the last thing that I wanted to share is...
please share it.
This is more for the Chicago area people that may or may not be listening to our podcast. Dare I say legendary comic book artist Alex Ross
You can say it.
will be featured in a display at the Best Bauer Dunn Museum in Libertyville, including a lot of never before seen works, sculptures that he's made, as well as just some of his more famous comic prints and drawings that he's done. Those of you that don't know Alex Ross, the best way I can put it is if Norman Rockwell painted comic books.
Mm-hmm.
It's that level of realism and heart and emotion and everything that he creates. So
if anybody wants a really good Alex Ross comic to go check out, my favorite is Kingdom Come.
Absolutely, hands down.
And I will say, I'm just going to take this moment to say that Jeff Mazuka is a saint of a man, because he waited in line 3 hours.
At least 3 hours.
At least 3 hours, and was willing to. You were going to wait in line anyway, I think, but
yeah,
but you took my copies of Kingdom Come and got them autographed for me.
Yes,
right on.
Yes,
that was very nice of you. So
that was my entire morning at C2E2 that year.
So I renounce everything anyone has ever said about you. You are a saint of a man.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
But this display is going to run, I believe, March through September. I haven't seen anything about any admission cost to get in, but I can't imagine it would be too much.
No, the museum itself, I've been to the museum before for a school-related thing, and I want to say it's maybe like $6, maybe. I don't think it's more than $10.
I feel as though I'm going to be going to this thing a couple of times.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to take the kids to go see it, because they've read some of his comics. They know, at least my son, I know, if I say Alex Ross, he knows what I'm talking about.
I think his work is amazing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful work. So I'm really excited to see what this whole collection looks like. So again, that's going to be in Libertyville, March through September. If I happen to stumble across any other information about it, I will keep plugging it on our podcast for people in the Chicagoland area. I didn't know that Alex Ross lived in the area.
He does. I don't remember exactly where, but I know he's fairly local. I was reading part of the news article. This is actually the comic book store that I go to in Libertyville. It says the exhibition will include a variety of programs and events, including book signings by Ross and a comic book giveaway day, May 4th, in cooperation with Dreamland Comics in Libertyville. Which I think
Star Wars Day?
May 4th. Well, it's Star Wars Day, but it may also be, if that's a Saturday, it may also be the Free Comic Book Day. So maybe
that is a Saturday.
Okay, so Star Wars Day and Free Comic Book Day are same day this year. So,
and I'm going to be in the area because my play is going up that night.
The stars have aligned.
So maybe I'll come out early and join you.
So maybe we'll be there. Okay, we'll have to do that.
But yeah, so anyone that has any vague interest in comic books or comic book art, this would still be an exceptional exhibit for you to go see, because his drawings capture just a lot of emotion and heart and realness, and it's great stuff. So anyway,
yeah,
that's all I got for this week. I'll have some more movie stuff to discuss next week.
Awesome.
But that's all I wanted to throw out there this week.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to jump into this week in 89. So the week of February 6th to 12th, 1989. On February 10th, the WWF Wrestling, in a court case, had to officially admit that pro wrestling is an exhibition and entertainment, not a sport, as part of a court case. So I'm sure that when I heard that, it broke my heart as a young child, as a young burgeoning Hulkamaniac. Who was saying my prayers and taking my vitamins and felt like I was a real American. But
brother,
what you gonna do, brother? And then on February 12th, Wayne Gretzky.
You know something, Mean Gene?
You know what? I love going back and watching those old videos of when
they're great.
The talks with Mean Gene, and now watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh man. Oh, okay. So now I know what my parents felt like on the couch behind me while I was watching this on the floor. Okay.
Oh,
man. February 12th, Wayne Gretzky sets 2 records, his 45th hat trick and his 10th 40-plus goal season. The top book this week in 89 was Midnight by Dean Koontz. The top movie was The Fly 2, starring Eric Stoltz, Daphne Zuniga, and directed by Chris Wallace. And the top song was Straight Up by Paula Abdul. All right. Everybody ready to jump on into Field of Dreams?
Woohoo!
I think so. Pat's ready to lead our discussion.
Are you ready to go, Pat?
After the lunchtime situation today, my job, I've been told, is to start the discussion and then just get out of the way. That's my understanding of.
You're going to start the discussion, and then we're going to come in and correct you.
in the interest of the John McLaughlin talk, yeah, it was. I know my role. I know my place.
I missed this whole thing.
Oh yes, it
Okay.
was. It was. I wish we could have videoed it. It was classic.
All right. Well, our movie this time is Field of Dreams. It came out the 5th of May, 1989, rated PG with a runtime of 1 hour and 47 minutes. The director was Phil Alden Robinson, who also did Sneakers and The Sum of All Fears.
Sneakers is a great movie.
Fantastic.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh, dear God.
John, I'll bring it for you tomorrow.
Okay. All right. It's got to go on my list. You know what else I had not seen before the whole week that I was out sick? Warriors, the movie from 1979.
Oh, wow.
The gang movie where the gang has to get through the city of New York. Yeah.
Come out to play.
I had never seen that movie. It was amazing. I loved it. Producers on this one, Charles Gordon and Lawrence Gordon. Together, they both did Die Hard and The Rocketeer. Writers on this one are W.P. Kinsella, who died in 2016. He did the book called Dance Me Outside, which also was turned into a movie. And then director Phil Alden Robinson was also one of the writers. He also wrote Sneakers and had an uncredited writing job on Fletch. Cinematography was done by John Lindley, who did Pleasantville, The Core, and Sneakers. Music was done by James Horner, who died in 2015. He did Titanic, Star Trek II, Aliens, and The Rocketeer. The budget for this one was $15 million. The box office was $84.4 million. Ratings on this one, little quick side note, Flick Metrics is kind of like their numbers have been off the last few times I've looked, so I've gone back to just pulling out the numbers from the different websites. So the Rotten Tomatoes top critics give this one a 62%. Rotten Tomatoes audience score is an 86%. IMDb gives it a 75. Letterboxd gives it a 70. And CinemaScore gives it an A. Starring Kevin Costner as Ray Kinsella, who was in Dances with Wolves and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Amy Madigan as Annie Kinsella. She was in Uncle Buck and Streets of Fire. Gabby Hoffman was Karen Kinsella. She was in Uncle Buck and Everyone Says I Love You. Ray Liotta was Shoeless Joe Jackson and was in Goodfellas and Hannibal. Timothy Busfield was Mark. He was in 30-something and The West Wing. James Earl Jones was Terrence Mann. He was in the Star Wars movies and The Lion King. Burt Lancaster, who died in 1994, was Dr. Archibald Moonlight Graham. He was in From Here to Eternity and Gunfight at the OK Corral. Frank Whaley was Archie Graham. He was in Pulp Fiction and Broken Arrow. And Dwyer Brown was John Kinsella. He was in To Live and Die in L.A. and Red Dragon. Here is the audio for the trailer, and we'll be back in just a second.
I have just created something totally illogical.
That's what I like about it.
If you build it, he will come. If you build it, he will come.
If you build what, who will come?
Didn't say.
I hate it when that happens.
Me too.
Who's hearing voices?
Ray is. I think I know what "if you build it, he will come" means.
Ooh, why do I not think this is such a good thing?
Daddy, there's a man out there on your lawn. Are you a ghost?
What do you think?
You look real to me.
Hi!
You couldn't see it.
This is really interesting.
You believed in the magic. It happened. Isn't that enough?
Annie, it's more than that. I feel it as strongly as I've ever felt anything in my life. There's a reason.
Go the distance.
Did you hear the voice too? Did you hear it?
Go the distance.
Yes.
Doc Grave is dead. He died in 1972.
Are you Moonlight Graham?
No one's called me Moonlight Graham in 50 years.
Unbelievable.
It's more than that. It's perfect.
You build a baseball field in the middle of nowhere, and you sit here and you stare at nothing.
This field, this game, it's a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good.
Hey, is this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
Kevin Costner, Amy Madigan, James Earl Jones, Ray Liotta, Burt Lancaster. Sometimes, when you believe the impossible, the incredible comes true. Field of Dreams.
All right, so I don't think I have to ask the question as to whether or not this is the first time anybody saw this. I'm assuming everybody has seen this movie before.
Many, many, many glorious times.
Certainly, most definitely.
Okay, so let's start off
Well,
with.
hold on, Pat. How
Oh,
many times have
oh,
you
yeah.
seen this?
All the way through. I think this was probably only the second time.
Wow.
Pat, do you need to start the discussion? I think I missed part of this earlier today. Are you ready to go with all of your notes and research? And
My soul is prepared. How's yours?
it's a little queasy, but it's okay.
All right. By the way, it's good to have you with us. I'm glad you're alive and
It's
not in
good
a
to be
hospital bed.
it's good to be vertical.
Well, I will let that one pass, but
You know, take that as you will. But so let me start off with this question then. What do you? Not my usual question of, when did you first see this and all that other stuff. What do you love about this movie? I think at least most of us. Pat, I haven't talked to you about this one yet, but I know Bo and I know Jeff and I know we've talked about this before. What do you love about this movie? Because I think we all love this movie.
Absolutely everything.
That's the almost famous answer to begin with. Everything.
Yeah, it's the James Earl Jones speech about baseball. Just the seeing a classic game of baseball played it's just too good. The concept of being able to reconnect with his dad, the Shoeless Joe angle, everything.
I love that as much as this movie is about baseball, it is equally not about baseball.
You actually don't spend a lot of time on the field.
Baseball is the basic foundation, the framework that the rest of this movie is built around. They use this concept of baseball as the through line to really build this story. I love everything about it. Patrick?
Well said.
You know what? I agree with what you're saying. I really like you said, everything about it. It just looks, all the people that they have playing the roles seem perfectly fitted, perfectly suited for their characters. I think I like that it has an affirming message, but it's not done in a melodramatic or trite way. I really think that the music plays just such a powerful role in this, and if nothing more than just that very understated, theme that I'm gonna butcher trying to sing it, but that da 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 bum, and then they'll play the theme through with the piano, and it's a theme that really just kind of sits with you.
It's beautiful. It's haunting. It's mysterious.
It's everything, and
like Jeff.
Yes, I am beautiful, haunting, and mysterious.
And the movie really, I think what I would take away is that the movie could really lead to some deeper discussions. And I think, I don't want to preempt your 5 questions, but I think that some of your 5 questions, kind of get into that. But I think that the movie could broker, a deeper discussion on many levels. And I'm just going to end by saying I really like that it's not just, Jeff, like you said, it's about baseball, but not about baseball, or however you said that. But the Field of Dreams, in some way, shape, or form, it all kind of relates and revolves around baseball. But it's the field where, it's more nuanced than just, okay, these guys got a chance to play baseball again, or they're ghosts, or whatever they are.
It's where dreams come true.
It's where dreams come true. I'm going to have a catch with my dad. This guy is going to get a chance to just get his shot of playing a game with the pros. But his overall dream of, or his mission in life of being a doctor and saving and affecting so many other people. I don't have that right, so Dennis, I'm sure, will jump in and correct me on that. But whatever his overall message was on that, that was able to come true even on the field. He was able to do what his life's work was. So I just think it's cool that the message in it and the idea of the Field of Dreams, it was more nuanced and more in depth than just the ghosts are coming back to play and they inspire the real people, or the living people, I should say. So that was my takeaway.
Yeah, I think, and I've seen this movie a whole bunch of times. I come to find out my wife has seen this movie way more times than I have, and she can quote this thing.
Nice.
I haven't seen it that many times to be able to quote it, but
I think today at lunch I said that this is probably one of the few movies that I might be able to do from top to bottom.
Really? Okay.
Quoting, yeah.
Yeah, she would
really
watch
close.
it. She would watch it a lot with her grandmother. Like this was one of her grandma's favorite movies. Her grandma was a big Cubs fan, loved baseball. We had a couple of relatives in her family that I want to say like tried out for the Cubs, maybe played a game in the 20s. So they had a little bit of that history piece to it. But also one of the things I wanted to make sure that I mentioned is I think one of the reasons why my wife's grandmother also really enjoyed this movie is she grew up in Chisholm, Minnesota. And,
Nice.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And so Dr. Graham was her family's doctor. Like she remembers going to his doctor's office. She remembers meeting him.
Get out.
Yeah. No,
That's amazing.
She always said that the stories that the people tell in this movie about him, when they start asking all the people about Moonlight Graham, that she said, as far as I know, every one of those is true. Like,
well, if I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the people telling the stories about him were his actual friends that knew him.
Yeah, I did find that when I was looking some
So
stuff
they were
up.
actually telling real, their own personal stories about him.
Yeah. She said the only part of it that she didn't like about it was that the scenes that they film in Chisholm are not Chisholm. I don't think I don't think any of it's filmed actually in Minnesota, but no, she loved that movie, and that was part of she loved baseball anyway, and I think she was a big Kevin Costner fan, but the other part of it too was being able to see her, family doctor from when she was a child as one of the characters, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah. This movie holds such a special place in so many people's hearts for so many people, or so many different reasons. There's something about it that people find something in it that they connect with, and they not only connect with, but they just hold on to. So anytime you hear the title, you go to that place in your head and in your heart. For me, it's, and I'm sure I've told this story on the podcast before, but my first time watching this, I was 12 years old, maybe. And my dad had it on in our family room, and he had worked multiple jobs trying to, take care of his family. That was he took on, that was his role. Take care of the family. I'm going to work a lot of jobs. So, he was gone a lot of nights working a second job. He was a teacher, but he would be gone during the nights. And this isn't a, my family was abandoned sort of thing. It was, my dad was doing what he had to, and he was out of the house, a little bit when I was a kid. And one of the first, real experiences he and I had together was sitting down and watching this movie that he had on. He had, was on cable, or, he had taped it or something. And he and I just ended up sitting down and watching it together. And it just became this very special thing for both of us. So much so that when we took a trip to the field in Iowa, he and I had a catch just like Ray and his dad do at the end of the movie. We stood in the same spots on the field, and we had our own moment there. And it was just one of the most incredible experiences of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, something about this movie. Now, I think I'm probably safe in saying that in terms of baseball fans, I think Jeff, you and Bo and Dennis are probably much bigger baseball fans than I am. I think I'm, I am a fan of baseball. It's not that I don't like baseball, but I think you guys are much bigger fans of baseball as a sport than I am. And so sometimes when I come to this movie, I enjoy this movie. I love the baseball part of it. I love the history part of it. But I think that, when you mentioned it earlier, is that in a lot of ways, this isn't really even a baseball movie. That I think that's how I always came to this movie. Is it's a movie about history and trying to recapture part of American history and trying to redeem people that were cast away for something that they did, and I think in particular, you talk about the memory of watching this with your dad. I think in particular, this is the first time that I've watched this movie since my dad passed away a few years ago, and this was an entirely different movie for me watching it now. Just that idea of, like, for me now, this was much more of a father and son movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's a big part of the movie, but I think watching it before, because it'd been a few years since I'd seen this movie, I think that's a part that I never really connected with as strongly. And now all of a sudden, and we kind of joked about it before, well, kind of joked, but not really, that as a bunch of grown men, we like almost burst into tears at the end of that movie when he says the line, "Hey Dad, you want to have a catch?" And I'm just like, I don't think I would have, teared up at all watching that before, but now, having been a few years after he passed, I'm like, okay, nope, don't anybody turn on the lights. Dad needs a moment.
So a lot of it for Ray is that it's the regret at not saying what needed to be said, or not saying what should have been said while he had the opportunity. Without getting into details, do you feel that, John, that you have something that you wish you could have, or you think I should have talked about this thing with my dad before it was too late?
No, I think the similarities that I have with that part of the movie is not so much I wish there was something else we could have talked about. It's more of it's a little bit along the lines of what you were saying when your dad was working a second job, and there were times that he wasn't around as much. My dad traveled a lot, for his work. And so there were a lot of times that he wasn't home. So, and by the time he wasn't traveling as much, I had already gone off from college. I had gotten married. I already had started my own family. So in a lot of ways, the part that I resonate with in this is I just wish I had a little bit more time. Like as much as I wish I could have maybe one more conversation, because when he, his health wasn't great. He had a stroke at the end, but we didn't think that was the end. We thought that we'd be going through years of rehab and all kinds of other stuff. And then suddenly one night he had fallen asleep, and he, they didn't know what had happened, but he wasn't going to wake up again. So, I left that day. I remember leaving that day when he was in the hospital, in the rehab hospital, and not thinking that, well, that'll be the last conversation I have. So I can't think of anything particular to answer your question. I can't think of any particular that I wished we would have talked about, or something that I wish we would have done. Just in general, that chance to have just even a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was just curious, because you have a vantage point that is very unique in this conversation. So I was just curious as to really what that angle of it is like, because that's what you can bring to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just curious.
Yeah, no,
if I'm prying it all too far, tell me to shut my hole and back it up. But
no, not at all. But that's something kind of funny that I've noticed with all movies now, even movies where, like, some of the father-son stuff or stuff with a father figure, even when it's not meant to be sad or super emotional or something like that, I have a hard time watching it now. Like, and we joked about this, and it's coming up to one of our 5 questions, but we kind of joked about this and said, what was something that's a favorite, like, father-son movie is one of our questions that we're going to ask later. And I, kind of jokingly said Return of the Jedi, but like any situation now where there's a father and a son, and whether it's a sci-fi movie or what, I'm like, okay, I'm going to need just a moment here. But this movie, just that extra emotional weight of the history of it all, and this tying into his obsession. And I think my one line in the movie that I absolutely resonated with this time, not even the "if you build it, he will come," not even the "hey Dad, you want to have a catch." I think it was the moment that he first realizes that that's his dad out there on the field. And doesn't he say something like, "Oh my God, that's my dad"?
Yeah.
Like that line was the one that hit me this time.
Yeah. I think for me, actually, this time watching it, what got me was Well, it was still the, do you want to have a catch? That line, that's up there is one of those lines that's always gonna get me. Same thing with, to my big brother George, the richest man in town.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Given a new perception and new context for me, when he's talking to his dad and his dad asks, "Is this heaven?" No, it's Iowa. Oh, I could have sworn this was heaven. He says, "Is there heaven?" He says, "Oh yeah, it's where dreams come true."
Mm-hmm.
And with that, he turns and he looks at Annie and his daughter.
Because that's one of his big regrets is that his dad never met.
Well, not only that, but I think it's not so much that it's his regret that his dad never met his family, but I think he's recognizing that's his dream. This is heaven for him because he's here with his family, his wife and his daughter.
Mm.
And I think now having a son, that is the part that really got to me because, it's one that for me, that was a moment of, yes, I understand that dream. And for a few years there, I thought I wasn't going to be able to follow through on that dream for myself, and now here I am. I am following through. I am able to, I am starting my own family. So that was a moment for me that really stood out and really just out of nowhere, huge lump in my throat and just tears started coming out as I just had that recognizable moment.
Now, Pat, as somebody who's I don't want to say a non-baseball fan, but I think of all of us here, you've admitted before that you might be the least, in terms of the sport of baseball, you might be the least knowledgeable person.
Yeah, I'd say that. I mean, I understand the general principles of the game, and there's certain things that I know a little bit more about than baseball, but I'm not a hater.
Right.
But yeah, it's cool. It's not my thing to do all the time, but I mean, I've been to baseball games. It's been a lot of fun, and that would probably describe me the most.
Okay. All right. So what is it? Is there anything in particular that you come away with from this movie? Is there something that resonates with you, if whether it's the baseball or not?
Well, I think the themes kind of resonate with me. It's almost like, and I described it to someone sort of like when we were in college, we had to read the book, The Inner Game of Tennis, for the trumpet studio I was in. And it was like, the inner game of tennis. And everyone's like, yeah, the philosophies and whatnot in there, the mindset, everything is real, real good. You got to read this book. And all the upperclassmen, would tell the freshmen that. And you'd read it and you'd say something like, well, isn't there like, because there's an inner game of everything. It's like, why not do the inner game of music? No, they get too detailed and you lose the simple core message. This was the original book. This is the one that you have to read. It's the purest message. Even though you don't play tennis, there's still things that you can take with and apply to your life. And it was in the trumpet studio, so apply to the trumpet studio. And that's kind of how I feel about this movie, is just many of those themes that you're talking about, and those things and those powerful points in the story, and seeing this wonderful, beautiful story unfold, you can take that with you because that underlying theme and message in the story is so strong. Whether it's a baseball movie or not is obviously for other wiser people to discuss. But I think the idea that baseball is definitely a vehicle to get at some other key philosophies and outlook and all that. And so I think that's kind of how I feel about this movie. If that metaphor worked for you, it's like, it's just it's wonderful outlook on life. It's a beautiful story, and you definitely don't have to be a baseball fan to get taken by that. And it's like I said, I'm not a hater, so I mean, if baseball game's on, I'll watch it. I definitely like studying the history of things, and I know that some of the characters that they brought forth were some pretty storied, baseball players. So that was exciting, to see that as well.
Yeah, I think I mentioned to at least one or two of you that we watched this together with the whole family. And so Nora, who's 8, and John, who's 11, and John plays baseball and loves baseball. And when I was going to show this to him, I thought, okay, well, hopefully they'll at least be entertained. I know John will like it for the baseball part of it. Nora will be fine because there's a little girl in it. And you know, I thought, you know, at the very least, they'll be entertained by this movie. It may not be their favorite movie ever, might not get much of a reaction out of them because it's not really, I don't think of it as a kid's movie. You know, at first glance, it's not a kid's movie. But, you know, for an 11-year-old boy who normally, you know, unless he's playing video games, doesn't get a whole lot of, you know, doesn't show a whole lot of emotion for anything else in the world. What was funny was we get to the end of this movie, I think I mentioned it to you guys, is that he's been sitting on the edge of his chair the entire movie. And, you know, he won't turn around and talk to us when it gets to the end of the movie. Like, are you okay over there, buddy? And he gets like, yeah, I'm fine. Like real serious. Like, and he does that whenever he's like upset or emotional about something. You little, you know, talk amongst yourselves kind of a deal.
Mhm.
He wouldn't turn around and look at us. He's like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. I'm like, okay, all right. We just kind of give him a moment because clearly he needed it. But and so that kind of, I mean, to me, that shows you the emotional power of the movie apart from the baseball. I mean, I think the baseball is what hooked him because he loves baseball. But then I think it affected him in a way he probably wasn't expecting either. He probably thought, oh, Dad's showing us a baseball movie. That's really cool. And then by the end of it, even the 11-year-old boy has gotten emotional.
Yeah, and again, that's part of the appeal of this movie. Is it has a way of resonating with so many people for so many different reasons, and clearly, as you're explaining, across many different generations and many different ages. I don't know what it is about the magic of this movie, but there's something about it that it's so good at whatever it is it's set out to do.
So I know that we need to get into our 5 questions here in just a minute. Is there anything else about the movie? I'm going to ask you before we get to the 5 questions. Do you have a favorite scene or a favorite line from the movie? But is there anything? I knew that was going to be.
I reject your question.
I know you do.
There's
but
two. Yeah. There's two for me, and they both involve James Earl Jones.
Baseball.
The one that from that moment when he says baseball till the end of that speech, I will use that quote, that line, read it over and over. I love it. Or when he stands in the middle of the road and says Moonlight Graham.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good too.
Moonlight Graham.
Yeah, in that James Earl Jones, like, fine, you got me.
You saw it.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it. What?
You're seeing a whole team of psychologists, aren't you?
You're from the 60s.
Back to the 60s.
I love his introduction in the movie when he opens the door.
With the crowbar?
Like, he just opens the door. Who the hell are you?
Yeah,
it's this big booming voice.
I love that.
You know,
I'm not a public figure. I only want to be left alone.
You know, you've changed. Yes, I suppose I have. How about this? Peace, love, dope. Now get the hell out of here.
If that movie's made today, does he say get the F out of here?
No.
No, probably not.
No, I don't think so.
I still think if this movie gets made today, I still think it's PG.
Yeah. I would agree. I don't think there's
in fact it's PG and it might get made by Disney.
I don't know. I don't know
with all
where
the
you would take
mergers
it.
and acquisitions, every third movie's technically a Disney movie now?
That's true.
I don't know what you would change or how you would change it to the point where it would have to be PG-13 or worse. They're just, I don't know. There's so many great things about this movie, so many great scenes, so many great lines. You know, it's full of heart, it's full of hope, it's full of grief. It's full of humor. Kevin Costner is great at playing the bumbling farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, they weren't even going to give him. They weren't even going to ask him to do it because he had just done Bull Durham. They didn't think he'd wanted to do 2 baseball movies in a row.
Little did they know.
And he
I have
was
a hunch
more
Kevin
than happy.
Costner would do a baseball movie if you dropped a hat.
Mm-hmm.
But he noticed something about it, that it wasn't just a baseball movie, and he was more than happy to come on board and do this.
I read somewhere, I don't know if you guys saw this too, they originally, the first person they offered this movie to was Tom Hanks.
That's a weird one because there's a lot of rumor about it, but it's really hard to find anything concrete.
Yeah.
You can find a lot of concrete evidence of some of the other people they offered it to, but the Hanks ones, I hesitate to use the word apocryphal, but
yeah,
it's weird because you can't find anything like. There's just innuendo and supposition. It's very strange.
Well, it's probably like at this point in the 80s, like 80s and early 90s, I would imagine probably nearly every movie was offered to Tom Hanks.
That's a solid point.
Yeah, I don't know if I can think of a favorite scene or a favorite line. I've already mentioned the one when he just all of a sudden that realization that that's his dad that's out there on the field. There's that one. I love the scene with his wife at the PTO meeting.
I was just getting going. Did you see?
I have a better idea. Let's put it to a vote. Yeah. Who's for Ava Braun here? Who wants to burn books?
I experienced the 60s. No, I think you had 250s and moved right into the 70s.
Well, your husband dug under his corn and built a baseball field. The weirdo.
At least I'm not a book-burning Nazi cow.
Yeah. At least I'm not married to the biggest horse's ass in 3 counties.
Wow, here we go.
See, we can do the whole scene.
All right, Beulah, do you want to step outside? I have a better idea. Let's put it to a vote. Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah.
I really love watching Burt Lancaster as Doc Graham.
Yeah.
Talk about wanting to have one at bat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a chance to squint at a sky so blue it hurts your eyes, and feel the tingle up your arm as the bat connects with the ball. Wink at the pitcher, make him think you know something he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about just rounding the bases, stretch a double into a triple, and flop face first into third as your arms wrap around the bag. Just there's something so beautiful and poetic listening to him talk about that as his one wish.
And I do have to say again about the whole idea of the emotions of this movie, the weight of this movie being able to hit no matter what age you are. I remember as a kid watching this movie and thinking, the moment that he starts to step off the field, and when everybody gets nervous about it, and they're like, "Oh, but if you step off the field, then you can't go back." And I remember as a kid thinking, like, "Oh man, like he's the only person that can save this girl, but he's going to lose his chance to stay on the field and play." And I remember that, even bothering me as a kid, being like, "Oh, that's heartbreaking."
Mm-hmm.
Pat, did you have a favorite scene or a favorite line?
Oh, you know what? You guys hit them all.
We've quoted most of the movie, so.
Yeah, I know. That end piece where all the cars are coming is just so amazing. And
that's real too. They got they put a thing out in the local paper.
Yeah.
And I think it got picked up by the Chicago Tribune.
Cool.
So a whole bunch more people showed up than they anticipated.
Yeah.
And they communicated with everybody through a local radio station, telling them when to turn flash between their high beams and their regular headlights to get that twinkling effect that you see.
Right. That was cool. And the movie had an air of mystery about it, and they really, but I mean, so cool how they created that mystery. And I was sitting here as you guys were talking about your favorite scenes, and it's a combination of everything, but there's no real, and it's creepy is the wrong word, mystery. That's the word I'm going to use. But I think it was that haunting theme that we spoke of before, and just the way things would happen. Like when Kevin Costner turned the van around and was going to head off, and then all of a sudden he turned, and James Earl Jones is standing in the middle of the street, and they hit the chord on the music, and you're kind of like, whoa, something big has happened. Or when the guys disappear in the corner, when he's walking and you hear, I don't know, but I don't have a favorite one scene, but just it was the air of mystery that was attached to it. The same kind of mystery that you got in the middle of Inception. You know, when you're like, is he in the dream or is he not in the dream? The same kind of mystery you get in M. Night Shyamalan movies. It's not like things are jumping right out at you, but it is like, you know that something isn't 100% right. Not that it's wrong, but it's just there's something a little bit out of the ordinary.
Right.
So I don't have a specific scene, but it was that mood of the movie was pretty awesome.
He asks each traveler 5 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
You've got to ask yourself one question.
What are you asking me for? I don't know.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right. Well, I have 5 questions for us, and we're going to go through these 5 questions fairly quickly, so we're not going to take a whole lot of time, but they are going to kind of expand on some of the things we've talked about, and maybe give us a couple of other things to mention related to what we've already said. But so our 5 questions this time. Question number 1: what is your favorite Kevin Costner role?
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to say this one.
Are we saying favorite Kevin Costner role or favorite Kevin Costner movie?
Favorite Kevin Costner role, so he doesn't have to be the star.
Open Range.
Okay, that's a good one too. So Bo, since you took Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, I'm going to go with The Untouchables.
Nicely done. That was my number 2.
I was back and forth on which one was going to be my favorite one. So I was like, well, if somebody else mentions Robin Hood, I'll go that way. If somebody else mentions an Untouchables, I'll do the other.
The comedy in Robin Hood swayed me at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the stuff between him and Morgan Freeman just kills me.
Yeah. All right. Question number 2: who or what do you think the voice is? And it's not a daytime talk show. That's not what I'm asking.
I think it's a combination of Ray's subconscious and Shoeless Joe speaking Ray's subconscious, helping him recognize what it is that he longs for, what it is that he hopes for, helping him recognize what he's after, so he feels complete.
Yeah, that works. It's a tough one. I've always thought it was Shoeless Joe, just because I sort of take it literally. You know, Shoeless Joe does say it once.
But yeah,
not like verbatim, but
I get the sense that he's doing it to help Ray reach the milestone with his dad that he needs. So it's like he knew what Ray wanted.
Right, he knows what's going on. He's involved somehow. So I always just thought it was him, but your explanation makes more sense.
I've always assumed it was God. That was kind of the path I took. That if we're saying that the cornfield is heaven, or at least some kind of pathway to or from heaven, my assumption was always that this voice is some kind of voice of God trying to guide Ray in what he's doing.
Patrick, go ahead and give your answer, and then we'll tell you how wrong you are.
That sounds good. You know, I think it's a matter of what you believe. You know, and I don't know which direction we exactly want to go with the overall podcast there, but I think if you believe in God or believe in a higher power, then you know that's what you heard, or some combination of that, or the voice of that higher power speaking to you. If you believe, you know, if you don't believe that, then you know, maybe you hear it as the subconscious, or maybe you see it as some sort of a combination of the two, or you know, I mean,
yeah, that's what it's. I don't think it's any one thing.
Yeah, and that's what, when I said earlier, I think this movie can really broker some deeper conversations. Let's talk about what that voice is, and then let's see if we're done before, you know, midnight tomorrow night. You know, so it's like I think that's a very deep question, and it just kind of it depends on what your beliefs are. So
It's still one of the closely guarded secrets about this movie too. Nobody knows who the voice was in the movie, because if you look at the end credits, it's credited as himself.
Yeah, that was my daughter Nora had a really fun time with that. When the movie ended and the credits started to come up, she just was incredulous. She's like, "Okay, whoa. We don't get to see what's in the corn. Why don't we get to see what's in the corn? Who was that voice?" And so then the credits come up and she's watching the credits and it gets to where it says the voice himself. She's like, "Himself? What does that even mean?" I was like, "It's okay. It's a movie. It's all right. But I want to know what the corn looks like."
Corn?
You're going to be okay.
So
Corn
she's
looks
gonna
like
be okay.
corn?
Next week, I'm going to show her Children of the Corn and then she'll forget about it.
Exactly.
Well, John, I think this summer you need to take the kids out to the field in Iowa.
I am definitely thinking about that, and I actually just saw that they're doing their 30th anniversary.
I would say they got a big anniversary this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're doing something. I pulled it up on their website. Saturday, June 15th, 2019 is their 30th anniversary celebration, and they said that there's going to be all kinds of food vendors, live music, all kinds of other stuff. And then the actor Dwyer Brown, who played young John Kinsella, is going to be there. They're going to have, I guess, extended times where you can play catch on the field and all kinds of other stuff that's going on related to the 30th anniversary. So if anybody is interested in going on June 15th, that's when they're doing their official. There is a spot where you can buy tickets for some of the stuff that's going on. So if you want to check that out, it's fieldofdreamsmoviesite.com, and then they've got a section for their 30th anniversary stuff. So, but yes, when I told the kids this is an actual place, Nora was like, "Oh, cool," and John was like, "Okay, when are we going?" I said, "Okay, we'll find a good time to go." I think that needs to be a trip that we do for somebody who's as interested in baseball as he is. Like we gotta go check this out.
It's really cool. We went when I was 12, 13, something like that. Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been there 2 or 3 times. It's a lot of it. It can be a day trip. It's easier maybe if you do it overnight, and then stop in Galena for a little bit, walk around, and see if you can figure out where they shot the scenes for Chisholm, Minnesota.
Yeah. All right, number 3 on our list of questions: what historical baseball player would you want to play catch with? And they don't have to be dead.
Frank Chance.
Okay.
Really? Wow.
Well, it was either Tinker Evers or Chance, so I flipped a coin.
You have a 3-sided coin?
Hey, I can flip a coin twice.
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer this question.
Okay.
Like Ted Williams would be awesome. Mickey Mantle would be awesome. Roberto Clemente would be awesome.
I would
Ernie
choose
Banks or Ron Santo.
Okay, nice. I would choose Nolan Ryan, but I want him standing like really far away so I don't die. Pat, would you have one? Is there a historical baseball player you'd play catch with?
My guy has to just be a patient coach, because he'd have to help me out a whole lot.
This is how you put the glove on.
Mm-hmm. Although, in all fairness, whenever I'd be playing catch with friends, they'd always be like, "Yeah, you got to use a glove," and I was like the only lefty, so I had to when I was ever playing catch, I'd always have to catch left-handed and throw with my right hand. And
Okay.
I am so unbelievably left-sided, not even left-handed, but left-sided, that it was a little rough. So yeah, I would need to have someone that would, whoever would just be patient and a good coach, and whoever it was would have to be able to tell a lot of stories. Because I just want to, anytime you get a guy like that, or a guy like, some famous baseball player, just talk, just tell stories. Tell me about hey, that I remember the time that, because that's what makes these guys so fascinating to me. I mean, beyond their athletic prowess and their skill at something, is just, the stories and the historical, the history that they represent. So
yeah. All right, number 4. What is your favorite movie with a father-son theme?
Son of a.
Yeah,
In
and
Latin, Jehovah starts with an I.
Mine.
that's
Mine.
that's a good one.
But there, that was low hanging fruit because we did just talk about it. But there are some really good ones. I mean, heck, Finding Nemo.
Yeah, Lion King.
Yeah.
If you want one with Kevin Costner, there's that one, The War.
Yep.
Road to Perdition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Solid.
The Road.
I need to see Road to Perdition again. It's been a while.
What about Godfather?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So also,
I think I'd even throw in there, even though it's not through, it keeps coming back. It's not through the entire movie, but I would even say like Superman, the movie. You get all of that with Marlon Brando and Christopher Reeve, and just kind of the the back and forth stuff about father and son and all that. And especially the beginning of the movie when he's putting him in the ship and he's giving that whole speech about, the father sending the son out and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of angles you could play this one.
Pat, did you have one for this one?
Mine would honestly be The Last Crusade.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah, that's what you said.
I hate to say it because it is the low hanging fruit, but I mean that's the one that just that.
First one that pops into your head.
Exactly. So I'm gonna go with that because you mentioned all those other movies, and I'm like, oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that one. But Last Crusade, because that's the one that pops into my head.
Yeah. All right. Last question. If you could build something to bring back a hero or group of heroes of yours, what would you build and who would it bring back?
I vote for Pat's answer.
Your vote is wrong.
Jeff, my wrongness wore off on you. You know what? Well, and it's funny because I'm going to squeeze two answers in on this one. I'm going to have a sports theme and then an anything theme. But my answer would be, you know what? Well, we being, Jeffrey and I, we are going to build an auditorium. And then like every night you go, a different famous musician or musicians will come out and perform.
Nice.
So, it could be like, we go there tonight and guess what? It's Sinatra at the Sands with the Count Basie Orchestra. And, well, Jeff, let's be honest, if those guys show up, we'll probably be seeing that every night for at least a year.
Yeah, that'll be extended booking.
Yes. And so, but it would just be something like that, where just every time you go, there's other musicians, and it just could be, let your brain go. Everyone that you wanted to see live, there they are. So that would be my first answer.
Nice.
Like I said, I vote for Pat's answer.
Okay. All right. So this is a joint venture. You guys are building the auditorium together. Okay.
That's kind of awesome, guys.
It's a good one.
mean, yeah.
All right, Bo, what do you got?
Yeah, this one was really hard for me. I didn't come up with much. I was trying to think what I would build to bring back somebody like Carl Sagan or something like that, I don't know what I would build. So I kind of struggled with that one. Would you build a space? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
What would be the correlation there?
Well, I told Jeff earlier today, Nora saw this question written down and she already answered it. She's like, I would build a science lab and bring back Albert Einstein because he's my celebrity crush.
This is a strange girl you have.
Yes. Yes, she is.
Well, you know what? And I'm gonna say this, Bo, and listening to your description, would you be building something and that they all come back to, or would it be something like Midnight in Paris, where you get like I say, build something, but maybe it's more sort of like when Kevin Costner went out for the walk and suddenly he was in Chisholm back from the 70s or whatever, I mean, yeah.
Good call.
Maybe you build a library.
Yeah.
And you anytime you open up a book, that author appears to tell you about their process of writing that story.
See,
like it.
that's pretty close to what mine is, except mine is slightly less noble. Most of my favorite authors had drinking problems, so I was going to build a bar.
Done.
There we go.
Picasso at the Lapin Agile.
Mhm.
There's a whole play about that.
I was going to build
It's
a
a really
bar,
good
and
play too.
Oh, really?
It's a fantastic show. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to build something like a bar,
You
and
can go down to Key West to Hemingway's bar.
well, see, that's what I'm saying is I would bring back Ernest Hemingway, I'd bring back Raymond Carver, I'd bring back. There's a whole bunch of writers that I knew were, fans of the drink, and so I figured maybe doing that would entice them to come back from wherever they are, just so we can sit down and have a conversation every now and then.
I suppose if I had to venture out on my own and not steal Pat's answer, I would build a movie theater. And when you screen a movie, the actors in the movie appear and share stories about just making that movie and just their time in Hollywood. So like if I'm watching To Kill a Mockingbird, Gregory Peck will show up and sit and have a conversation for a while.
Yeah, that would be cool. All right. Well, if any of you listening out there, if you got something you would build to bring somebody back, let us know. We'd love to hear what your answers to these 5 questions would be. If we don't have anything else, I think that's going to do it for us for Field of Dreams. Does anybody have anything else you want to add to?
Well, I was going to say, hopefully we can possibly do a little one-off with Dennis.
Yeah.
And just get some of his thoughts, because I know he really wanted to be in on this one as well.
Yeah.
So maybe we can find a time to do a episode 225.5.
0.5, yeah.
And just let him share some of his thoughts, because he's got a lot of great thoughts about this movie too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this time. We are going to be back here next week with actually, this episode's been a little bit delayed just because I've been sick. So within a matter of a few days, you will probably be getting Major League in your podcast feed. So that's going to be our next one. And then we're going to follow that up, since we're in our month of sports movies. We're following that up with The Wizard, The Power Glove. It's so bad. The Blood of Heroes will be after that one. We are at 30podcast.com. That's probably the best way to find all the different ways to get in touch with us. But we are pretty active on Twitter. Like I said, voicemail line, you can call into that. The number is going to be on the website as well. So thank you, Bo and Jeff and Pat, for being here. And Dennis, we will, if you're listening, Dennis, we will catch you up next time, and we'll get some of your stuff on here too, because I know you had a lot you wanted to say about Field of Dreams. All right. We will see you all next time. In the meantime, be excellent to each other and go watch some good movies.